Oh, it's recording.
There it is recording. Cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Tim. Tim couldn't make it. Larry,
Here?
Trish,
Here.
Lynette,
Here.
Christine,
Present.
Yael,
Here.
Jan,
Here.
Jim. Have we got Jim?
I have not seen him enter.
Okay, and Sandra's also not here. So, okay, Larry, thank you.
Okay. First, we're going to see for announcements. I don't have any announcements for this month. We are going to be changing our schedule for the next November and December because of the holidays. So we'll keep you posted by our webpage and our MailChimp. We'll try to email everybody and let them know what we decide at the end of this meeting for what we're going to be doing in November and December. Do any of the members have any announcements they want to make?
Are we going to decide regarding December meeting slash forum later during committee
Yep.
reports?
Yes,
Okay.
I have that at the end of the agenda items.
Okay.
So moving right along, do we have someone from the sheriff's here to give us a monthly sheriff report?
If Captain Klingenberg or Commander Nelson, if you are here and we don't see you on the screen, if you raise your hand, we will know that you're here and we can unmute you.
Okay, I'm not seeing anybody. I want to say, I think it's *3 if you're on the telephone to raise your hand. I haven't confirmed that yet, but *6 is mute and *3 I think is raise your hand. Anyone here from the Highway Patrol? Any officers here to give us an update? Okay. County staff report. Carrie Brown, are you?
He is unmuted.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Carrie.
Great. Okay, I have a report for you. The Planning Commission considered the Los Osos Community Plan on October 8th. That was their third hearing, and they recommended approval to the Board of Supervisors. The commission discussed environmentally sensitive habitat areas and the Habitat Conservation Plan and how the Habitat Conservation Plan can provide mitigation for environmentally sensitive habitat areas within the urban services line. They also discussed other edits to the language in the document as submitted by community members. And so that concludes Planning Commission's hearings, and the Los Osos Community Plan is now scheduled for the Board of Supervisors on December 15th. Also being considered at that meeting will be the Los Osos Habitat Conservation Plan, specifically the Memorandum of Understanding with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. And this is to allow mitigation on the Morro Dunes Ecological Reserve. And this is needed before we can get our incidental take permit. The board will also be reviewing the resource summary report for District 2, amendments to the growth management ordinance, and then finally, the vacation rental ordinance for Los Osos. So we'll have a very busy day, December 15th. And that's all I have for tonight.
Larry, Larry, there is a call in
Yes,
user
yes.
number one that I'm asking to unmute. There is no phone number attached to it, so I don't know if that's Highway Patrol or Sheriff's Report. But their hand,
Unmute them and see who they are. And
they can't be, they have to do their *6, but their hand's up.
okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, who's this?
Hi, this is Sergeant Mangorjani with the Sheriff's Office here in Los Osos.
Woohoo!
Okay.
I figured out how to raise the hand on the phone. It's *9.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
So, sorry, I'm here for Commander McDonald. He wasn't able to make it tonight, but I'm here in his place.
Could you
Okay,
please spell your
if you
name?
could,
Could you please spell
Yes,
your name?
my first name is Dave. My last name is Mangorjani. That's MENGHRAJANI.
Thank you.
And I'm the sergeant here at the Los Osos substation.
Cool. Thank you.
okay. If you could hang on for 1 minute, we're right in the middle of discussion with Carrie Brown.
No,
I
Carrie's
think
done.
she's finished
Okay,
saying what,
Sounds good. I'll just stand by. Thank you.
okay. So Carrie? Carrie, are you still there? Your mic is muted.
Okay. I
Oh,
was
there you
trying
are,
to-
Carrie. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that concludes my report, but I am available.
Okay. First, I was going to ask, are there any members that have questions for Carrie Brown? Okay. Anybody from the public have questions about the county staff report? I do encourage everybody to try to attend that meeting or listen to it. Coming up in December, I think Carrie said December 15th. It's going to hold the future for our town and community.
Lindy is raising her hand.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I think I'm unmuted.
Yes, you are.
Lindy Owen, Los Osos. Carrie, I guess I'm really concerned with 5 fairly major issues for Los Osos all being heard on the same day before a board of supervisors who really has no clue what else is going on for Los Osos. Is there some way that couldn't be broken into through till January? Again, everything is going to the Coastal Commission eventually. I don't see what the big rush is, and it feels like I think the community plan alone deserves 1 full day of hearing, or, a visit with the Board of Supervisors that Tuesday. So that's my question.
Sure. Thanks, Lindy. They're all related to, Los Osos water, Los Osos community. I think it's actually important for them to be considered as one for the Board of Supervisors, kind of the voice of the community and what the community wants to see. So I think it's actually beneficial for them, for it all to be together.
Okay. Thank you, Lindy. Anybody else have a question for Carrie? Okay, if there's no further questions, thank you, Carrie, very much. Hope you join us for the rest of the meeting. Next, we have the supervisor's report. Bruce, I saw you there earlier.
I am still here, at least in my electronic form.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where I am physically, but electronically I know where I am. So I appreciate the opportunity to be with you again. Always a pleasure. You may, the sharp-eared among you may have caught that there's a new commander at the coast station. It happens to be Commander Stuart MacDonald, who is a Los Osos resident, it turns out, and someone that I've known for quite a while. And I think that you know, we've been served very well by the commanders of the sheriff's office who have stepped up at the substation. And it's just a real pleasure to see Stuart back in this job. Let me use that as an introduction to turn it back over to Sergeant Mengarajani. I thought I had that, but I lost it. And I'll be happy to continue my report after he's had a chance to give his.
Okay, thank you, Bruce.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I'll give the stats for September, or excuse me, for September 2020, September 22nd through October 22nd, in fact. So for calls for service, we had 71 calls for service this year during that time frame, compared to 73 last year. So it stayed relatively, you know, the same. We had 4 calls for service for assault and batteries. There was nothing of note. We had 52 calls for service for disturbance, and a lot of those calls were on Palisades, as it related to the, you know, the camps out there. So that was a majority of the calls. We had 1 burglary call, and that was forced entry into a vehicle. We had 12 calls for thefts, where items were taken during the evening hours. We didn't have any vandalisms. We had 3 mail thefts. We had 5 phone scams. And, you know, during this time of year, during the holidays, that tends to go up. But, if, you know, 5 it's actually, considering it's not too much. We had 8 calls for suspicious suspicious circumstances, and we had 80 traffic stops, and basically it's proactive enforcement stops, and those varied from vehicle stops to bicycle stops to pedestrian stops. So, you know, the deputies were able to be a little more proactive during this time frame. And then there were 34 COVID compliance checks that the deputies initiated on top of the, you know, 80 traffic stops that they were able to, proactive stops they were able to make. So those are the stats for September 22nd through October 22nd. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Okay. Do we have any questions? Oh, was one question. Is there any update of the bear they saw today at Palisades and stuff?
I know that dispatch had our dispatch had reached out to Fish and Game. I am not aware of something specific. Let me see if I can pull it up. I'm in front of my computer, so maybe I can pull it up here real quick. But I know that we reached out to Fish and Game and requested their response to assist with the bear.
Okay, thanks very much. Were there any questions from any of the board members for the sheriff? Any questions from the public? Okay, well, if not, thank you very much. Bruce, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. Maybe I could get the sergeant to give me his last name one more time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's spelled Mengrajani.
Okay, pronounced
That is pronounced Mengrajani.
Mengrajani. Okay,
Yes.
I've got it. I think. All right, thank you. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for getting Sergeant Mengrajani in here. Moving on, Carrie covered well the status of the community plan. Our staff is putting together the necessary pieces that'll bring this to the Board of Supervisors. I agree with Carrie that this really is usefully brought to us as a whole, because a lot of these pieces interact with one another. And I think that my colleagues will get the best possible vision of it by moving forward. Let me jump to, I don't have a lot of Los Osos specific items except for the effort that has been conducted at the Midtown site with the encampments on that parcel. Let me just jump to one, not necessarily smaller thing, but one other non-Los Osos specific thing, which is voting. And I wanted to make sure that you all knew that if you have any questions about how to vote, how to get a ballot into the clerk recorder's office, that there's a lot of information on the clerk recorder's website, within the county website, or you are certainly welcome to call my office. Everybody, 183,000 registered voters in San Luis Obispo County received a ballot in the mail. Again, if there's anything strange about that ballot or questions you have about that, don't hesitate to call the clerk's office. They have very helpful people who will get you squared around. You can return that ballot through the mail. You can return it through a secure drop box, and there are quite a number of locations throughout the county, including our libraries, where the book drop has been deemed a secure drop box location. Or there are going to be voting centers opening on October 31st, I believe, which is 4 days ahead of the election, and you can vote in person. You can actually register in person if you haven't already. The formal registration deadline is closed, but new rules allow one to register on the day, cast a provisional ballot, and as your registration is verified, then that ballot can be counted. So again, if you have any questions about any of that, County Clerk Recorder Tommy Gong and his team are tremendously helpful, or please don't hesitate to contact the office and Blake could get you connected with an answer. The big effort in Los Osos for the last 2 weeks has been to relocate the folks who were camping in the brush on the Midtown site behind the library. And we have Kate Valentine, who's one of our deputy directors of public works with us, and she can fill in a little bit of detail. But as of the last report that I got, that there were only a few, I think 4 folks who, as of this morning, might have still been there, and a variety of accommodations have been made to provide them alternate shelter, to connect them with services. And as I understand it, and I'll let Kate just fill in behind me here, that all parties that had been camping in the brush there have now been relocated to other and hopefully safer locations. We've worked very carefully with Capslo, which runs the Forty Prado Homeless Service Center. And they are making space available for those who will accept that. And I understand that at least a few of the parties that have been relocated have accepted that. I also would tell you that the next step after relocation is to clean up the site. That a considerable amount of trash has been located, though not, I think, as much as had originally been expected, and that trash removal is in process. It perhaps is completed by today, and we hope to have the site secured by tomorrow, and then restoration of the site will occur from there. You know, as we've pointed out, the effort there was specifically for those encamped in the brush. And we know the public concerns there with the fire risk, with the public health and safety concerns, and with the environmental damage. And we think we've made a significant step forward. There are about a dozen people that have been relocated from those encampments. Our efforts weren't specifically aimed at those who are parking on Palisades, but we did run a services fair. Quite a number of service providers showed up. I believe that was last week, to make sure that those who were parked there or encamped knew about services available to them. And I'm told in the update I got yesterday that 3 of the folks who were parked on Palisades have decided to participate in safe parking down in San Luis Obispo. So that's a good sign. That's by no means all of the folks parked there. And there's yet work to be done with that. But I can tell you that the question of unsheltered homeless, the issue of unsheltered homeless residents is a big one countywide. And I've been in discussions with our senior staff about this. They have in turn been in discussions with city managers and city electeds. And we can expect, starting at approximately at the first of the year, a major push to up our game, if you will, on providing better places for folks who are encamped, but also expanding safe parking programs and putting them on a more solid footing. Again, the key in all of these things is to try to get folks connected to services that put them on the path to permanent housing. And so all those things in process. And I guess from what I've gathered as to the efforts at Midtown, so far so good. And I'd let Kate Ballantyne fill in any details that you think I may have missed.
Let me unmute her. Here you are. Kate, you will be asked to unmute. Just unmute your button.
Okay, great. Did it work?
Yep.
Okay, great. So thanks. Yeah, as Supervisor Gibson said, I'm Kate Ballantyne with Public Works. And Supervisor Gibson covered a lot of the points process of the schedule, and the bulk of the work has been in the last 2 weeks. We provided notice to the encampment members on October 8th that within 2 weeks they needed to relocate from the site, and so that date was posted for relocation by October 21st. We did provide a services event on Tuesday, October 13th, to connect folks with COVID testing, food, shelter, medical service options that can be provided by the county and others, nonprofits and others. In addition, the sheriff's CAT team has been on site at Palisades and Midtown more than 30 times in the last 5 months. And really, Deputy Fellows and Sarah Kraft have been at the site daily this week and most of the days last week. CAPSLO staff have been on site at Palisades and at Midtown at least 18 times in the last 4 months. And they plan to continue their weekly outreach to unsheltered people in the area. So as far as services that were offered and accepted, as Supervisor Gibson said, three people who were parking on Palisades did agree to relocate to the safe parking at 40 Prado. At least one person who had camping at Midtown accepted offer to shelter at 40 Prado. And everyone who was still present this morning were determined to be eligible to stay at 40 Prado and also transfer to the site. 3 members of the encampment have requested that the county store their personal property. And so we today labeled and stored their items, and we'll be storing them for a minimum of 90 days at a secure location in Los Osos. And all of the trash removal did occur today. It's all done. We hauled away 40 cubic yards of trash from the site. It filled the roll-off all the way to the top and overflowing. And I'd like to point out that approximately 10 cubic yards of that trash was cleaned up by the encampment members themselves over the last several days. The smooth wire fences that surround the property were repaired today by county staff. They left one gap in the fence for some mobilization tomorrow, but all fences will be repaired by tomorrow. And staff from Public Works will be monitoring the site twice a week, minimum for the next several weeks, and we'll be working to restore that area of the site for the oncoming winter rains. They'll be spreading out cut vegetation for erosion control and doing some seeding. What else do I have here? So I would just like to take a moment to highlight efforts of the Sheriff's CAP team, really especially Deputy Fellows and Sarah Croft. They dedicated so much time and energy to this effort, and their compassion and their just desire to do good was just really great to see. And also other county staff members, CAP SLO, and numerous nonprofit community groups and individual members in Los Osos who've worked so hard to help connect people with shelter in a variety of different ways. I just like to close that we appreciate the deep care and concern that the Los Osos community has for its unsheltered residents. We've really seen that over the last few weeks, and we absolutely appreciate that. This is still an ongoing conversation. There will be ongoing outreach, and this is just one small step for the Midtown site, but I absolutely anticipate we'll be continuing this forward. And that's all I have. And I do have an update there if anyone wants it.
Thank you, Kate. You know, it is one small step for the Midtown site, and we'll see more coming in the future, but it's also a significant step forward in the county-wide effort to address unsheltered homelessness. I think one person within Public Works who deserves a call out by name, a shout out to Ann Gillespie. Along with Kate, they did an enormous amount of work to coordinate a large number of county staff to get this done. That is basically my report, Mr. Chairman. I would be happy to stick around if I can, if you were going to have a discussion about your interest in in a forum that would further explore homelessness issues in Los Osos. I know Blake and I have received word that your subcommittee is formed, and we just let me, before I forget to do so, indicate, of course, our ongoing interest in working with all involved there. I think you have a really good model in the forum that was put on in Cambria last year. Perhaps trimmed a bit, just given the nature of virtual meetings and the realities of the pandemic. But, we'll be happy to coordinate with county staff, who I know will be happy to participate to get information out to the community. So with that, that's everything I have to say, and I'd be happy to take questions at this point.
Mr. Chairman, you do have two hands up. Mr. Vinson is first, and Ms. Hall is second. So Mr. Vinson, you're going to see that you can raise you're now able to talk.
Yeah, hi. Actually, I have a question for Carrie Brown. I couldn't figure out how to raise my hand, so could you come back to me after Bruce is done?
And everyone, I do need you to raise your hand on the computer. It is, if you hit participants button on the bottom of the screen, it will open up the panel, and on the right-hand side is a raise hand button. I can't see all the faces when I'm trying to do it this way. So
yeah.
thank you.
I got it now.
And yes, we'll get back with you then.
Thank you. Hey, Bruce.
Yeah.
Ms. Hall, you will be next. You should be open to speak. Oh, here, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Thank you. This is a question for both Bruce and Kate. So I'm kind of confused about the numbers here because Bruce, I heard you say that everybody had been relocated, but I heard Kate say that one person from the encampment was going to 40 Prado, and my understanding was that there were 12 to 14 people camped there. So I'm wondering where the other 11 to 13 people are being relocated to.
You know, I'll pass that to Kate if she had the specifics. She indicated that all 4 that were there this morning were eligible to go to Prado. Again, we're offering this, Caro, and it's, you know, it's not immediately clear to me. Maybe Kate has better information whether folks took that offer or not.
All right. Sorry, I was getting hands. You are unmuted, Kate.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so that's right. So there are specific circumstances for specific individual members that I am not comfortable providing in a public meeting, but everyone who was at the site was eligible to go to 40 Prado. Certainly not everybody was willing to accept going. And the Cecil from Capslo continuing to reach out and offer people services, but no one was forced to go anywhere. So
Well, would it not be true to say that everybody was forced to go at least out of the campsite? So they were indeed forced to go somewhere, but they were not relocated, in that the offer of Capslo was not acceptable to everybody. And I know certainly from personal experience that at least one person didn't feel safe going to Capslo because of COVID, and is being helped with funds from Los Osos Cares and St. Benedict and TIMA for 10 days, but doesn't have accommodation after that. So I'm just raising the question about describing this as relocation. I think that's inaccurate. I think it's dislocation.
well, that's absolutely true that people were asked to leave the Midtown site. Yes.
Thank you.
We have 2 other hands up.
And Lindy wanted, she does not.
I know, I have 2. The first one is Paul, and I'm going to unmute you, Paul. Sorry, my computer doesn't want to do that. Paul?
Got it.
Are you on?
Am I on?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I just kind of want to echo a bit of what Reverend Carroll had to say. It's really not, people were not asked to leave the site. They were told to leave the site and made to leave the site. And my understanding of the Boise decision is that that's actually illegal, that they have to be given a place to go. I may not understand it correctly. I also, 40 Prado, my understanding, and it could be incorrect, is a shelter. It's not a place where you can actually reside with your stuff. And so the people have a place to sleep, but they are still technically, at least in my mind, they're still unhoused. I know the CAT team was there a lot and seeing everybody there. My understanding is the CAT team's supposed to connect people there with services, but it didn't seem to me that that was happening until Capslo got involved only very recently. And I would like to point out that the federal government's own agency that is working on homelessness across the country makes it very clear that it is not wise or helpful to have law enforcement taking care of an issue that is not a law enforcement issue. I don't think it promotes confidence in the unhoused population, and it's not a law enforcement issue. They maybe have some training, but they're really not, they don't have the resources to do anything. And it really should be something that the county, who contracts with the sheriff's department, should be using their resources to better serve the unhoused population that are unfortunately not really able to care for themselves. Instead of spending the money with law enforcement, it should be put more towards adequate social services. Thank you.
Okay, Lindy, I'm unmuting you now.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I guess I have some concerns also. When you say that they were relocated, Prado, how many hundreds of people throughout the county that are being moved out of camps will be able to fit at Prado? I understand they're doing overnight safe camping, overnight camping, or vehicle is being provided. But again, we know from experience that most of these people have been invited to Prado in the past, and for their own personal reasons are not comfortable or eligible to go there. So we took, there's 13 people that apparently will be sleeping under some other bush in Los Osos this tonight and for the near future. What I feel the county is needing to do is to step up with some property that can be turned into a safe place to put maybe long-range homeless. And I want to know, I've heard nothing about consideration of that option, which is the first option to getting a solution to where we can have these people safely reside rather than in county property, which Tri-W was. And I still don't know, you haven't provided, we have no place for the people that are in vehicles that are parked up and down Palisades. So I wonder if you can tell us what the plan is for them. Are they going to be forced to leave, and will they be living on our city streets or town streets? So again, I went to the event last Thursday with all the resources that were offered, and 8 homeless people showed up out of the approximately 30 that apparently are living in that area. So the outreach had many more county employees there and was very expensive to put on. And I'm just not sure if we got any result out of it. So I don't mean to complain, but I want to see some action towards getting some property, possibly out by the sewer plant. There's a lot of extra open space, but Los Osos and each community needs to have a place to send them to, not rather than just tell them to leave and go to Prado. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, unless you have other public comment, let me respond briefly to a couple of points, if I might.
Sure, go ahead, Drew.
First of all, the effort that was undertaken at Midtown was completely compliant with the Boise decision, which tells us that we cannot force an unsheltered person to leave public property unless we have an option of shelter for them to go to. And that was the whole effort here, was to make sure that for all the people that were encamped on Midtown, that there was at least the option for shelter. And that option was 40 Prado. And we worked specifically with Capslo to secure an adequate number of beds to house everyone who was encamped at the Midtown site. The thing is that we cannot force people to go to 40 Prado, and that's a problem that we well understand. Every person who is unsheltered and homeless has a somewhat different story. Each of them are unique. Some of them, as you know, have mental health issues or addiction issues or both. Some of them are simply in a short-term period of misfortune. Some of them have adopted this lifestyle as a choice. The effort of the CAT team, although they are attached to the Sheriff's Department, so perhaps technically they are law enforcement, they are unlike any other aspect of the Sheriff's Office in the sense that one of the CAT team members is a behavioral health technician and essentially a social worker. And so the whole point of the CAT teams and the Sheriff's Department's interaction here was to understand each individual's situation, to make sure that they were aware of services that they could be connected to, make every effort to connect them with those services. And at a point, though, we have to go with the free will of those individuals to choose to accept the offer that the county made. So under those circumstances, and this was very carefully considered, and one of the reasons it took a while to get this going, we were completely compliant with the Boise decision. Those who do choose to shelter at Prado, the philosophy there is to work with those clients to get them on a path to permanent housing, doing whatever it takes, whether it's mental health, addiction services, physical health, whatever. The folks at Capslo that run 40 Prado run an extraordinary program there. And so far as I know, folks can shelter at 40 Prado as long as it takes to get them on some path to permanent housing. So what happens from here is we certainly know this is not the complete solution. We know that there needs to be more work to provide sanctioned camping spaces. And we have both county staff and city staff looking at that. Same with safe parking. We know we need to expand safe parking, and we're identifying sources of income to create safe monitored parking spots. One of the keys to that, two key things to that. One of them is it's going to take an increased commitment of public dollars to make this happen. And I think that what we've seen here and in other communities in the county is that unsheltered homelessness has gotten to a level that it cannot be ignored, and that we will start to see more public dollars flowing. Certainly, that's my advocacy on that point. And I know that county staff shares my passion for that. The other point is that homelessness is a problem in every single community in the county. And an equitable solution of this is going to require some amount of effort in every single community. And each community being a little different, the actual mix of sanctioned encampment versus safe parking versus permanent shelter will be different. But those are the kinds of things we're working on, and those are the kinds of things we expect to start to see some significant planning happening late this year, early next, as we transition the necessary staff from their day-to-day efforts in the COVID pandemic. We need to expand our staff and expand our staff effort and bring folks to work on the homelessness issues. And we certainly expect to see some progress in the coming year on this. I know that's not as fast as we should do for the humanitarian aspects of it. And I know that this will continue to cause concern in communities because of the public health and safety issues that are raised here. But please know we are serious about this, and we're working as hard and as fast on this as we can. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. No other questions then.
Hands are raised.
Okay. Thank you, Bruce. Moving along, we have a CSD report.
Hello. That's me. So, it's been actually 1 year since we've had our new general manager, Ron Munns. So we completed his review. We think he's done a really great job. We have lots of projects ongoing. We're trying to get the project Seawell done. I didn't listen to the meeting last night, but I believe they're recommending to go ahead on the site on Bay Oaks Drive, which should have good yield and has the extra benefit of being already owned by the district. The other site that should have good yield is in Andre, where a lot of the neighbors are just vehemently against it. So we're trying to avoid that area. 10th Street is undergoing maintenance. They're installing a liner. They're believe they'll be able to restore much of the pumping capacity. 8th Street is, they have started the upper aquifer well project. They were waiting because we received a grant and we didn't want to jeopardize any of those funds by starting working too early, but we got the okay to go ahead on that. We tested the intertie between our water system and Golden State, and it worked. So we can use that if, you know, say either Golden State or we had two wells go down at once, we can mutually assist each other. We are testing 3rd Street to see if we can get that back online. And the Parks and Rec Department, they agreed on a pathway of, I believe, asphalt and split rail fence. And our window to get it done is closing because they don't want us to work in the rainy season, but they're going to try to see if we can get that going. You know, it's not raining now. The encroachment and building permit have been submitted. So if we're lucky, we might get that completed. Otherwise, we probably have to wait till rainy season is over. Any questions?
I have a question.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes?
The Parks and Rec agreed on a pathway, and you talked about that pathway. Where is that pathway, please?
It's on 7th or 8th Street, and it kind of connects to, let me see. I can't remember the name of the street.
Farrell.
Connects to Farrell. So you can kind of go across, and then you can actually go through the parking lot of the church and get to the library and park area.
Okay, thanks.
Larry, we do have one raised hand for Steve Vinson.
Okay. Steve?
Okay, quick question for Carrie. Carrie?
Okay.
Yeah. I've never
Carrie,
had.
you still there?
Carrie.
Hello, Carrie.
Let me unmute her. Ask to unmute.
There she is.
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, Carrie, quick question for you. Going back to the community plan, I took a look at the video the other day and I saw where they had put on there no drive-throughs. Can you tell me a little bit about that, how they got on there?
Sure. we had a project that was considered by the Planning Commission a few years back. It was a McDonald's with a drive-through.
Oh, I know all about that. Go ahead.
Okay.
I was in the middle of it.
And we got a lot of input from the community that they did not like drive-throughs and they did not want drive-throughs in the community plan. And we also did a survey of the community, and that was also one of the results. So that was incorporated into the community plan as desired or as recommended by the community.
So when was this? 2012, right? I moved here in 2011, and that's when it all started. I think it was 2012.
2012 is when we had authorization from the Board of Supervisors, but we've been working on it, since that time, up until now. So it's a long time.
But the fact is that it did pass LOCAC and it did pass the Board of Supervisors because we have Starbucks there now with a drive-through. And the reason I'm asking is, the Starbucks, it's a success story. Just ask anybody who has a business in that shopping center. We haven't had a request since then, so 8 years have gone by. What I'm getting at is, it seems to me like the citizens of Los Osos should be able to vet that situation on a case-by-case, issue, instead of just throwing it in a community plan and just saying no more. To me, anyway, I don't get it. I come from a different state. I just don't get it. Where else? Who else does that? I went to Hawaii. I went to Kauai one time, and there was Burger King.
Steve,
Yeah.
you have a question for Carrie Brown? Either ask the question or don't. We don't want to drag this meeting on forever, please.
Yeah. She answered my question. So, yeah, that's it. I'll just.
Then thank you very much, Steve.
Yeah.
Chris Womack, was there any questions for the CSD by either the members or the public? Okay, there are none. Chris, thank you very much. I will be looking for your treasurer's report later. Chamber of Commerce.
Hi, Lynette Tornotsky, Chamber Secretary. Our online business expo continues through the end of the year. Go to lobpchamber.org and the link to get you there is right on the homepage. Sadly, our 42nd annual Oktoberfest and car show had to be canceled due to the COVID disease, but we'll be back in 2021. Chamber President last year, Marshall Ohilsky, is scouting a new Christmas tree for the corner of LOVR and Palisades. I guess the Charlie Brown tree will be replaced. If all goes well, we will try for a socially distanced tree lighting ceremony. It's hard to tell if we'll be able to do that or not. I'll keep you updated there. And also individual people, not everybody knows this, but as an individual, you can become a chamber member and support our chamber. So go to our website and you can see how to do that there. It's like in San Luis, if you're a private person, not a business owner, you cannot join. But here we allow people to join on their own. lobpchamber.org, and that is my report for October. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Lynette. Do we have any questions for the Chamber of Commerce?
Oh, I have a question. So as of I wrote a check for the Chamber of Commerce for us, LOCAC,
Yes.
and I realized my bank statement's almost a month old, but it wasn't cashed as of last month. Usually I walk it in, but it's closed, so I had to mail it to the PO box. So
Right.
just
Tell you what, I'll check with the treasurer of the chamber and get back to you personally. Is that okay?
okay.
Thanks.
That would be great.
Okay. Okay, so if there's no other questions, Oh, okay. So moving on to LOCAC business here. First, we have approval of the minutes. Anybody like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve of the minutes from last month.
Okay, is there a second?
This is Jan, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed?
Aye.
Okay, no, thank you. Then Chris Womack, Treasurer's Report.
All righty. Okay, so one of the things I noticed since we changed to Mechanics Bank, they stopped charging us that $12 monthly fee. So it makes the reporting a little more straightforward. We have $747.88, although we do have that one outstanding check for the Chamber of Commerce. The other two checks were for the GoDaddy account and for the Zoom room. So those were $24.17 and $14.99. And that's my report. Any questions?
Okay, did we ever get any update or anything on the rooms that we ran at the community center and at Sea Pines?
I thought when we discussed it, we kind of thought we want to support those businesses. I did not ask them for the money back.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. It just kind of was on my mind there for a minute. So committee reports. Land use had a couple items. We didn't see any issues with them. And they'll be coming up on the consent agenda. Traffic and circulation, Jan, did you have anything you wanted to?
I think we have an item on the agenda about the circulation study, but I think that's later on.
Okay,
We did have a meeting on Monday. We haven't had one for a number of months, so we'll discuss that then.
okay, thanks very much. Tree and landscape, Yale.
Yeah, so we've been working on the Elmora multi-use path landscape restoration project. And last month I reported that we've had a couple of members that have prepared a very comprehensive, beautiful plan. We submitted it to Sean Cooper at the county Park and Recreation. And after he returned from time off for vacation, he responded. He gave us some insight of what it will take to carry through the whole plan. However, he did give us some ways to start on bits and pieces of the trail, which is a huge area. And we submitted revision just regarding that small portion, mainly concentrating around about 21 oak trees that have been neglected over the years. And we will hopefully start taking care of them. I spoke with him this week, and he's checking with his staff to see how they can accommodate some of our requests. So I feel hopeful. I feel like there is a door open there for us to start working on a trail, which is very exciting. And I'm really thankful to some of the members on our committee, mostly Lisa and Cindy. Thank you.
Oh, good. Thanks very much. It sounds like a lot of progress is being made there.
Yeah.
For the outreach committee, Sandra's not here. I want to say she's been still doing a great job on, I think, getting information out to everyone. And with that, again, we'd like to thank Lynette for keeping our webpage going and getting all the information on that and all the changes that go. It seems like a never-ending task sometimes. And then we have the Unhoused Residents Forum. I know that's coming along slowly. Yale, if you'd like to
Yes.
give us an update on that, or
Yes, I will. Actually, it's been coming along pretty smoothly and not, in a nice speed. We have the mission for the subcommittee online on our website. And again, Lynette is really doing a great job because each time we do something and it has to show up on our website, that's Lynette's work. So it's an ongoing work for her. So thank you. So, and I was glad to hear some of the comments made by Supervisor Gibson about the plans for the first, after the start of the year, because I think that we are looking forward to have the forum still this year in December. And Supervisor Gibson suggested that Cambria did it in lieu of their meeting, LOCAC meeting, maybe we could dedicate the December meeting, LOCAC meeting to the forum so that people are used to that date, that time. And I wanted to ask the committee, LOCAC committee members, if that sounds okay. If we don't have time to consider it right now, that's fine, but we should let people know right away so that we can start inviting people to the forum. So I don't know if you want to open the discussion. We can maybe wait until the end of the meeting so that we don't prolong it.
Yeah, well,
I understand that.
okay, let's wait till the end of the meeting while we discuss
Okay, I just wanted to
November,
announce
December.
that. Okay, I just wanted to announce that we created a 7-member subcommittee. 3 of them are LOCAC members. That will be Jim, Sandra, and myself. And we have 4 public members, all applied. And they are Reverend Carol, Lindy Owen, Lani Erickson. She's a resident, lives on 8th Street, and Becky McFarland. So these are the 4 members, and we have our own first meeting set for next Thursday. And so that's all I have to report. I'm pleased with the progress.
Good, that sounds good. Is there room for more public members if they want to join?
No, we decided to have only 7, but and we did not have more applicants anyway, so.
Okay, well, that's fine. And then that meeting, let's get it on our webpage and on our calendar, so other people that want to attend or be there can join in.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so that's that. Next, we have 2 items on the consent agenda. They're from land use, and land use considered that they met all the requirements and stuff. So do we have a motion to pass these consent agenda items?
I'll make a motion that we pass on our approval to the county on DRC 2020-00148 Turner and DRC 2020-0017 Dade. We approved those in committee, and that's why they're on consent.
I'll second that.
Okay. So since they're on the consent agenda, all in favor of? Okay, I think it's all of us. Any opposed or neutral on the? Okay, so be it. The items are on the consent or past the consent agenda. Thank you. Then on the regular agenda, we have this Los Osos circulation study with a presentation. I think we have somebody from the county there to present this.
Circulation.
Or Jan, I know you're around there somewhere.
Michael Britton, correct?
You want to unmute Jan?
Oh, Jan muted herself. Okay. Oops.
Hello, this is Michael Britton. I do have circulation study if you want me to share it on the screen. Your choice.
Yeah, give me a minute and we'll, there.
If it's easier for me to just read off what I have, I can certainly do that as well.
Okay, Trish, are you seeing anything? I did. Multiple participants can share. Or one participant can share at a time.
Go.
There you
Oh,
go.
There we go.
there we go.
So on Monday, I presented the final annual update to the Los Osos Traffic and Circulation Committee. As you may be reminded, some of you probably remember this from last year, we do an annual update to the board because we're required to do so. We are required to go back to the board and present to them a statement of the balance of the account, any expenditures and any increases in the fees if they are applicable. Also last year, we talked about a fee index that the board had asked us to look into. We proposed an amendment to the road fee ordinance. And that was mentioned last year's LOCAC meeting when we did this, and that was approved by the board. So we have a couple of things to present briefly. As you can see, we do tally up building permits, which paid road fees. There's 10 of them there, looks like. We began the year July of 2019 with just a little over $61,000. And we ended the year in June with a little over 72,000. Now those expenditures were mainly aimed at the major update that we are currently working on. And there will be a major update to this program brought before your board sometime in February or March. No major road impact fee projects that we have available, but these are the proposed fees for the year. Now these fees are essentially last year's fees with no change except for the 2.4% fee index, which is what was calculated for this year's fee indexing. So there is a little bit of an increase to those road fees right there. I wish I could tell you off the top of my head what they currently are, but in March, they will go up 2.4% to these values right here. I can scan through the rest of the document, but it is literally exactly the same as last year. For some reason, it is now blank on my screen.
We're seeing it here.
Oh, good. Mine is blank, so maybe you're seeing it all. The rest of the report is the project list, which hasn't changed in 10 years. It also, we have a fee balance sheet, which is where the numbers we have on the screen came from. And then Exhibit B, which is simply the rules of engagement on how road fees are calculated. None of that has changed. The only thing that has changed is the balance, number of permits, and the road fees themselves, as I said, will go up 2.4% this year. So I present this to your council for review and acceptance. If you have any comments, I am here for that. If you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from any of the board members? I see two hands going up. We have some questions from some of the participants here in the audience.
All right, I'm going to unmute Lindy.
Hi, Mike. Sorry, I missed the meeting yesterday. I wanted to ask a question. the county issued a temporary 3-year permit for a site lot that's at Fairchild and Santa Ynez. And I think they're going to be entering from Fairchild, which is unpaved road. And the idea is that there'll be community or some parking for a nearby business. There'll be large pods put at the top of the property, and the lower part of the property would be used as a temporary construction yard activity. How does that, do they need to pay road fees before they get to do a 3-year temporary use? I don't think that was discussed much. And I just wondered what you have to say about that temporary use situation.
Well, every permit that comes through Public Works is dealt with on a case-by-case basis, but road fees are primarily assessed when structures are built. So it would depend entirely upon whether or not a structure is built. Anything that does not have a structure may or may not have some other form of traffic mitigation. That could be funding. It could be any other series of measures, but those are dealt with on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next question is from Jeff, and I will unmute him. Actually, they have to mute themselves as a phone. So to unmute is *6 to Jeff.
Okay. I'm not on the phone. I'm actually going through an iPad. A question, Mike, you say there's going to be the new comprehensive study. Is it going to be totally motorist or vehicle focused like this one, or is it actually going to be looking at the alternative modes as well?
It will be completely vehicle centric. As I've restated a few times, current modeling technology really only allows for us to take into account vehicular traffic. And by that same token, the road fee program is merely intended to mitigate traffic impacts from cars. So any of the road fee projects would be mitigating intersections or roadways that see enough of a significant increase to affect its level of service. And as I also have mentioned before, I know that there are studies underway right now looking at how to implement other modes of travel into these travel demand models, but those are still in the study phase. And at this point in time, nobody, at least within this state, the consultants we use don't really have the technology or the software to do that kind of study. That day is probably coming, Jeff. It's just not here yet.
Thank you.
Okay, were there any other questions or comments about this report? Okay, well, Mike, I'd like to thank you very much. Guess we'll be seeing you next year when it comes back again, and probably in February when there's some update to some of this.
Yeah, when we do the major update, you'll be seeing me in February, March, April, probably.
This is
Okay.
This is Jan, and I'd like to have us accept and approve this. So I'd like to make a motion to that effect.
Oh, okay. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I don't think there's anyone that's remaining neutral or opposed to this. We'll take it as unanimous vote. Thank you, Jan, for reminding us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Michael.
You all have a good night.
Okay. There we go. Okay. Next item on the agenda is from Tim Ronda, who's representing the Back Bay Inn. He has asked for community input on possibly amending their coastal permit and changing the shape of their phase two of the expansion of the hotel. I think many of you have seen the list we have accumulated so far. So basically what I'm looking for is any new input or comments or suggestions or anything to add to this list, which then I'd like LOCAC to be able to sign off and give Tim a list of this. So are there any comments or questions or statements by board members? Tim, are you there somewhere?
Yep.
Oh, there you
I'm
are.
here. Yep.
Okay.
I'll need to be unmute. Am I unmuted?
You're
there I am.
unmuted.
Great.
Yes, you are.
Can I, many of you are familiar with this. We are getting quite familiar. I've been twice to the land use committee hearing. So I'd like to kind of run through a little presentation, about 5 minutes, if that's acceptable. Can I share my screen?
Yes, we'll try that again.
Looks like it's going to work.
You're doing great.
There we go. Okay, as you know, I'm Tim Ronda with SDG Architects, representing the owner of the Back Bay Inn, Bill Lee. A little review for some of you that weren't here. The Back Bay Inn received a Coastal Commission development permit in 1995 to renovate and expand the existing hotel from 15 to 23 units in 2 phases. The construction of the first phase was completed in 2000. The second phase has included the remaining 9 units and was conditioned on the completion of the public sewer system and the lifting of the sewer moratorium. The conditions for the second phase have now been met and the project is approved to move forward. We're reviewing this with you tonight specifically for LOCAC because the owner would like to make a revision to the approved footprint, and that revision requires local review and feedback before the Coastal Commission can consider the revision request. So I'd like to walk you through this briefly. As you know, we reviewed the project twice with the Land Use Committee. I am available to respond to some of those comments as well. This first sheet shows the footprint of the existing inn in brown on the left-hand side there, and the 9-room addition that was approved by the Coastal Commission I've highlighted in blue. So on this property, that's what we have a permit for at this point in time. For clarity, this second sheet shows in green the footprint for the proposed revision that we'd like to do. The purpose of this revision is to preserve, or I should say, this was the initial submittal. I'm giving you a little history here in green, and the purpose for this was to preserve the landscaped open space on the property and open it up visually to guests of the hotel. This did extend the frontage along First Street about 28 feet, but it also increased the setback for most of the addition from 6 feet to 10 feet. So we're just comparing the blue footprint to the green footprint. In our first review with the Land Use Committee, there was some concern about the setback from First Street, even though the addition complies with all setback and height requirements for the site. So in a good faith effort to respond to these concerns, we revised the footprint to step the addition back from First Street with increased setbacks from 14 feet to 19 feet for the end units, as shown in red on this exhibit. This is a compromise that we hoped would address concerns about the First Street setback and yet still maintain the open space that the owner is trying to achieve on the rest of the property. You can easily see how it compares to the approved footprint in blue. The proposed revision will have no effect on views to the bay. So we're really comparing, what we're asking for is, can we do this red footprint instead of the blue footprint and modify our coastal development permit? Here's the footprint we're proposing, and I'll just walk you through briefly. I'll just click through the floor plans and the other plans so you can see the set, and we can go back to any sheets if you want. There's the first floor plan. Oops. And I'm sorry, that's the site plan. site plan second floor. Just a blow up of the first floor plan, second floor plan, roof plan. And as you can see, that shows how the roof is stepped back as the building extends along First Street. So this is, we prepared some visual exhibits that many of you have seen already that walk around the site and show what the view would look like as you look towards the bay of the building. So the red dotted line represents the profile of the approved plan, and the blue dotted line represents the profile of the proposed plan. And as you can see in most of these photos, as far as views toward the bay, there's really not much of a difference. Again, we can come back to any of these if you want. These are additional views toward the property along 2nd Street. And I'm going to pause for a minute at this last slide. The land use hearing, there was some talk about this fence, which is about the height of the fence, and maybe it blocked the views of the bay. This is pictures taken from Santa Maria Avenue. And I want to note that since this picture was taken, the height of that fence has been reduced to 3 feet high along Santa Maria Avenue for the first 20 feet from First Street. Also, I should point out that this is about 200 feet from the Back Bay Inn property that we are looking at, and that there's multiple intervening properties. So, you know, we're not opposed to trying to work this out if this becomes a sticking point, but I just wanted to update you on what the existing condition was. These are the elevations. The top view is a view from First Street, and the other two views, the middle view is a view inside the property facing the open space. And I have a 3D exhibit coming up, but the bottom view is the end of the building. And then I'm going to jump right to an existing view of First Street looking at the inn. And then I'm going to go back to, this is really the view that that shows what the additional inn would look like. Again, the approved plan is about half of this length along First Street, but it's 6 feet. It's in the same setback as the closest part. So we've tried to, you know, respond to concerns and stepped it back. This visual image is a little bit different, slightly from the one that was submitted, in that we extended this fence line, which is what the owner would like to do, and we've shown a little bit more landscaping in front of it. So this is a little more reflective of what we would like the front of it to look like. So I'm going to leave this image up for a bit, and then I just want to briefly touch on some of the comments that were raised in the land use hearing for your information. The location of the addition, I'm just going to do the number 1 through 6 or 8, whatever it is, in the same order as the comments. There was some confusion about the location of the existing building relative to the property line. And I want to reiterate that we had a survey prepared that shows the building is in fact 6 feet from the property line is shown. We also, of course, revised the plan to increase the setback to 19 feet as we went to 2 hearings with the land use committee. The number of units on this particular site that we're looking at is 9 units addition, which is the same that was approved in the Coastal Commission permit. Impact to views, I think I've shown visual exhibits that show, as far as views toward the bay, that there's not really an issue. Of course, the view onto the property from the public street, First Street, it will be impacted whether we do the originally approved design that's set back 6 feet, or the revised plan that steps back 6 feet, 10 feet, 14 feet, 19 feet as it goes along First Street. Parking, there are 37 spaces provided on this site, consistent with the Coastal Commission approval. At the land use hearing, there was a discussion about parking for the entire block that is mostly also under the same ownership. And we can discuss this further if LOCAC desires, but it is not part of the property and coastal permit that we are asking for feedback on tonight. But happy to address that further as you have questions or time permits. Trees, the owner planted 11 cypress trees along the property along First Street. Since the last land use hearing, 5 of those have been replaced with 24-inch box trees. that the existing trees were deemed to be too small and not consistent with the approved plan for that street. So he did find some larger trees and has already planted those. The other comments about lighting, not a problem. Of course, we would comply with dark sky requirements for lighting. Concerns about the setback, I think were resolved with the new site survey, at least the setback of the existing building relative to the property line. And I believe these street improvements along First Street are completed, as shown in this photograph with the DG pathway and all the other improvements. If the trees are acceptable, they're not shown in this picture, was taken before they were planted. But that's all I have for now, and I'm available to answer any further questions you may have.
Okay, thanks very much, Tim. Are there any questions from members of the board? Yale,
Yeah. I know you did not want to speak about parking, but parking is very important. And since First Street is right there in front of the building, we would like to make sure, certain that the future visitor to the hotel will not use First Street as their preferred parking area, but the parking that you provide them on site. So if that's not going to happen, we'll have to put a sign there that says no hotel parking, because that's public street. And I have another question though, regarding, you said that all of the condition of the, regarding the First Street were completed. I would like to ask, what is this area that we're looking at that is so well maintained, right at the end of First Street, with the drip water system and all that? This is private street. Why is that being used? Why is that being developed by the hotel owner? So these two questions I have.
Let's see. I don't know if I can answer the second question. I know Bill may be available to answer that, or maybe Bob Simonson. I just don't know. I wasn't involved in the development of the improvements along First Street, other than right along the property frontage as we discussed it. My understanding is I was told that was complete. So I don't know what that is.
Okay, so we need answer to that, but
okay.
You can answer the parking though.
Yes, so what would you like to discuss about parking? I have parking exhibits for the whole block in a spreadsheet, and it's quite detailed. I can pull it up if you want to look at it.
I like assurances that they will not park on First Street, because there is access right there.
Yeah.
From First Street to the building, and anybody will say, well, why should I park behind if I can just park in front?
I see. I'm not sure how to respond to that. I don't think the intent is to park here, but it is a public street. Do you have a recommendation or a condition that could be considered for the project?
Yeah, that the owner will show that you have enough parking, and that will make very clear to the patrons that are going to come to stay that the First Street is not hotel parking.
I think that's a reasonable management requirement, that I don't think they'd have any problem doing that, as far as notifying tenants and possibly in their, I'm speaking out of turn, but that doesn't seem unreasonable as a management tool for the hotel, just to let their patrons know.
Maybe you can put it as a note on the on the plans,
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem.
When we are going to vote on that, that's included there. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. I thank you for your concerns, Yale. They will be noted in the comments and stuff. I don't want to get into, about the parking issue. The county and coastal commission will make sure that they comply with their parking requirements.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Were there other comments or anything?
There are no hands up at this time.
Okay.
Paul,
I see
Paul put his hand up. I will unmute Paul.
Thank you. Is anybody from county still here? That they left?
I will unmute Carrie. Carrie is unmuted.
Hey, Carrie. Why is the applicant still doing illegal encroachment on First Street? And I just don't understand why that planting area has been there now for weeks. And it's been reported to Public Works, and the plants are growing, and I just don't understand why those of us that have been involved in this for over 3 years have to still keep chasing after the owners of the property to stop their illegal encroachments. So can something be done about this? Thanks.
This is Carrie Brown. I haven't been dealing with the encroachment permit, but it's my understanding that Public Works wanted the area to be planted for erosion control because they actually moved the boardwalk, so they couldn't just leave it bare, especially with the rains coming soon. So that's my understanding.
That kind of planting is effectively restricting access to the public to that area, which is what the old illegal boardwalk extension was doing. There was a lot of the discussion right from the beginning about the whole takeover of First Street was at that spot that we're looking at, where you see that kind of agave to the right of the red sign, was traditionally a historical public kind of boat launch area that had since been obstructed by various things that the Back Bay Inn had done, one of them being the boardwalk extension. So now this planting that's going in there is just another way to, or ends up being another way that access is blocked again. So it's just hard to understand, why we keep sort of chasing this down. Could it be erosion control that you could still get a boat trailer over? Could it be done with turf block or something like that? But basically it's just a big barrier to both pedestrians and boats. So I know it's not necessarily your bailiwick, but maybe you could make a mention to the powers that be.
I'll mention it to Public Works.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
The next one,
Lindy,
Lindy, I will unmute Lindy. Okay, Lindy. You should be unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to find out if public access roads could have a no overnight parking provision, if they have one, or if that could be added in so that there is no overnight parking. I can see where it would be simple for people to unload their suitcases and all that, but again, in order to preserve that area and not have it become Back Bay Inn parking, possibly no overnight parking would be helpful. And if we could go back to the picture of the fence, the brown, ugly brown fence. I'm trying to understand why the view is still blocked, because of apparently that's where the dumpsters sit on the very end. Even if you've made the rest of the fence 3 foot, the part that blocks the bay, yeah, right there with the little, what is that shed? A utility shed?
I think the shed has been moved. I don't have an updated photograph of that.
Okay, but
Looking through.
I thought that there were dumpsters on that fence area, and I wonder if that could not be moved closer to inland so that because that definitely has blocked the view of the bay that was there before this big fence went up. So that's just a suggestion that would make it have a better view. And again, if it goes 3 feet and then it jumps up to whatever this is, 5.5 feet, I don't see where that really helps the view of the bay.
Yeah.
You can obviously see that you can't see this section of the bay.
Yeah, I might have a photo. I gotta find it. This is, you can see that photo, right?
Yep.
I just brought this up. I have some brand new drone photos I just got this afternoon, and I don't know if this answers your question, but this is the area you were concerned about planting, and I noticed that there's already planting. I mean, this looks like the boat launch area here, and I don't know that this would, I'm just looking at a picture, drawing conclusions, but so we have a bigger context, doesn't look like you would be launching a boat through this existing bank anyway. But let me see, I might have a picture of that spot that you're talking about, and I just saw one, and I gotta find it here. That's not quite it. Anyway, while I'm looking for this, feel free to proceed with questions. I think I have a picture. Here we go. Okay, so this is what it looks like now, and I don't see that building there right now in this picture. I'm sorry, I don't have one looking straight in, but what I understand is that from the corner, there's a 3-foot high fence, 20 feet back, and then it steps up after that, which would, mitigate this. Like, again, this is 200 feet from our property, and we're really focused on this down here. I don't want to get too distracted, but in the spirit of, community goodwill, I think we are willing to try to make this more transparent if that's helpful. And I think it is right now, so.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. And Lindy, those are very good questions. They'll be added to what I'd like to present to Tim. Is there anybody else on the board that has any comments they would like to put in? Any members of the public? Do they have any
We have Lisa Danker.
Oh, Lisa from the public. Hello, Lisa.
Hi, Larry. Hi, everybody. Let's see. I know I gave some comment before, and I still feel strongly about some of the basic impacts that potentially could be very prominent in the direction towards the residential west of this project site. And that would be lighting and lighting spill, noise, the use of the parking by the business. And historically, First Street is public land and it's coastal access. And I think it's in according to the Title 23, businesses must be accountable for employee and customer parking within their own property bounds. And you said that that's doable, but I really would like it. I don't know if you're still on, Carrie, but nobody seems to know the real count of rooms, so that how many cars should be parked according to the count of all the rooms that are being rented, and then all the other businesses for employees. And until we have an actual approved survey by the county, nobody really knows. So it's hard for any of us to say, okay, parking's covered until that's done. So if somehow a request to have it officially done to do a parking survey would be really helpful with this project.
Okay.
I want to make one last point. My main feeling about this is that you're creating more rooms, you're making an addition, but it's linked off of and adding to an existing building that's already considerably large and highly visible. And the visibility is 360. And when you add off of this direction going north, the view shed isn't just from the north or the west or the downtown Baywood. It's also highly used from the south, from Cuesta by the Sea and the bay users. And what you'll see is one very large building. And I think it will become dominant. And from what I understand, when you look up in the LCP about our special community, that everything else is supposed to pretty much be subordinate to the unique character orientation towards the special resources of the shoreline and the bay. And the dominance of this structure also along First Street, I think will overshadow the public use. And I still don't feel that it's set back into the property enough. And if you were truly being sensitive and designing to small scale coastal and something that would really feel and enhance our community character and be beneficial, I think it would be an altogether separate freestanding building set into the property. So the approved project to me has less impacts than what you've been presenting in the last few meetings. But I really think if it was truly being sensitive to small scale coastal character, separate building. And that's all. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Do we have any other public comments or thoughts or anything? Okay, well, with that, I'd like to propose to LOCAC that we provide Mr. Tim with a list of these comments that they were asking for, you know, with the LOCAC figurehead that we've approached the public and the community at large, and these are their thoughts and concerns and ideas, and be able to present that to Mr. Tim. Anyone want to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Any opposed or remaining neutral? I can't see everyone's head count. Okay.
Thank you very
Well,
much
that's
for your
good.
review and comments.
Yes, Tim, thank you very much. I want to see some more of those drone views you got. That's quite impressive.
Yeah, I got a bunch of
Okay.
them here. Maybe we'll post them
Okay,
someplace.
well-
I don't know.
When you get them, email me a few of them. So
Yeah, there's some nice
we can,
shots. there.
yeah, wow.
I mean, it's nicely cared for property in the respect that the planting and everything, you know, it's pretty well
Yeah.
maintained.
Yeah, no, they are beautiful pictures.
Yeah, be out there.
Okay,
Okay, thank you very
Thank-
much.
thank you, Tim.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so the next topic that we have is what are we going to do the next couple months with the holidays coming up?
And
Yale?
And can we squeeze the forum in December instead of a local meeting or at the time of a local meeting? If we find that that's okay, if we don't have too much land use, urgent land use issues.
Well, one I would suggest, you said there was a meeting next month that's going to be a Zoom meeting. Yale, am I not?
Yeah, no, this is our meeting of the committee. No, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're asking. Next
Okay.
week we have our first meeting of the full
Committee.
Yes.
Okay, and so there's going to be hopefully another LOCAC meeting between now and the end of the year. And so I don't know what you're asking from LOCAC. I would.
What I'm asking from LOCAC is if we can decide that a date for December, then we can invite panelists for the forum. We have a date for them, and also for Supervisor Gibson. He has to be able to attend, of course, and so we need to have a date as soon as possible so we can start invite people.
So
Hey,
I
Chris,
think
you're off
usually
mute.
what we, thanks. I didn't know if I was muted for a reason, but
Oh, your
so I think
your
what
phone
we
was
do is-
chirping.
What was?
Your
Oh,
phone
my
is
phone was
chirping.
chirping? Oh. Okay, that was the reason. So I think what we usually do is we skip Thanksgiving, but we do one meeting early in December. So we should have one more meeting before the end of the year. Probably first week of December. So like the 5th.
Yeah, we were talking December 10th at one time.
Right, that's what I see. I have December 10th. Is that still working, or is there any other date in December? I mean, December 10th will be the second Thursday. I mean, the 17th is too late, probably. I don't know, people are, or because
The
of
17th
COVID.
is too late.
Hmm?
The 17th is too late. Yeah, the 5th or the 10th is probably fine.
The 10th is fine?
I think so. Just pick one. The sooner we, say when it is, the more people can plan to be there.
That's the idea, yes. So if everybody think that the 10th is okay, but 17th is too late, I mean, because of COVID, I don't know, is it going to be different this year?
So what I'm hearing is cancel November's meeting because that's on Thanksgiving.
Correct.
And so instead we have a meeting December 10th that covers both meetings.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
I think
would
that's
like
what
it to
we
be,
usually do.
yeah, but I would like it to be the forum, not the meeting.
Well, aren't those two separate things? The forum is different than a LOCAC meeting, isn't it?
Yes, it is, but we can use the date because then it's easier for people to be there, unless we need a meeting. I mean, if you don't approve it, I understand. That's what Cambria did. They used their LOCAC time, their NCAC time for the forum. And that's what Gibson suggested. I'm just bringing it up with you. But if there are issues that are coming up, then that's not possible. But if there aren't any, maybe it is possible.
This is Jan. I just think that December to have the forum is way too early to get everybody on board and have people there with the holidays. I think we should, if we're gonna have a combined meeting, if that's what y'all's pushing for, let's look at our January meeting and do it then.
Well, it cannot be combined. If we are waiting for January, then it will have to be separate. I mean, I don't want it to be together. The form will be long and hard to manage. It's not your casual meeting. It's going to be a lot of panelists, maybe not as many as Cambria because it is Zoom, but there will be panelists, there'll be time for questions. There'll be public, hopefully public people that are attending. Hopefully this is for the public. So that's not a casual meeting that we can combine.
I just hearing what Jan said, I'm thinking do it the first of the year, January or February, instead of trying to cram it in before the holidays.
We just thought that it's there is an urgency to that topic, and the county is working on other issues that are in this regard. There are committees that are working currently, and it goes through the agency, and it will be good if they can hear from us as well.
But then
Gibson did not think it was too soon, but
okay, Yale, I'm still like we do land use. Land use has meetings and stuff, we make the choices, the decisions, and then we just pass it on to LOCAC. I'm feeling if you're gonna have a big open meeting, you know, for for that should be separate from LOCAC. And then something presented to LOCAC in a condensed version instead of LOCAC going through the whole thing.
No, this is a
Am I
form.
making sense?
No, I don't think that we are on the same page, Larry. The
I think
forum
what
is-
Yael's saying is that instead of having our December 10th meeting, we would hold a homeless forum on that night versus having any LOCAC business being done whatsoever. Correct?
That is correct.
But
Then you're making it so that for 2 months, we don't have a LOCAC meeting.
yeah, so according to bylaws, we need to have one in February. I mean, we need to have one in December if we're not going to have one in November. So
I see.
So what about the 5th for the LOCAC and then 10th for your forum?
5th is CS.
It'd be the third for the LOCAC and the 5th for the forum, and the 10th.
Yeah,
for
but
the
isn't
forum.
there a CSD meeting on the 3rd? December 3rd? The first Thursday?
Yeah, that sounds good. That would make sense to me.
Well, if it's not possible, it's not possible. Then we'll have January.
Well,
Why
I
is
think
it not
it's
possible to
possible.
do 2 meetings?
It's possible to have it in December. I just think you need to have it on a date that's not the LOCAC meeting.
Okay, okay, I'll present it to the subcommittee and we'll come up with a date. It's just that LOCAC has to be available because it's kind of LOCAC presenting, you know? So
Well, it can be available, but we don't know what's going to come before the land use committee meeting. And sometimes there are time-sensitive issues. So since we can't know in advance what will be coming, I sort of think we need to separate the 2 meetings. If we can't hold LOCAC business at a LOCAC meeting, then we're not doing, as Trish says, our, mandate of doing LOCAC. I think we need 2 separate dates.
Okay.
Okay, and Lindy has her hand up. She will be unmuted now.
Community involvement, and that was a huge outcome. And I believe that we had an abbreviated LOCAC meeting, and then we had the last issue of the evening was to talk about the McDonald's. Am I correct? And would that be an option? I know it would be a long meeting.
no, Lindy, the forum has to have its own time.
Not as part of the regular meeting.
If it's part of the regular meeting, it's the whole meeting. There is not going to be a meeting. It's either for LOCAC or forum. It cannot be together. Absolutely not. It has to be dedicated for the forum. It will be long. So it's not, it cannot be part, it's not an agenda item.
What about a regular meeting on the 10th and then a pre-forum discussion to alert people to a January meeting of the full forum?
Well, yeah, we present it to them, to the committee, and we'll discuss it another date. If we cannot do it.
I don't know.
But again, it will have to be, if we are not doing it on LOCAC meeting date, it makes it simpler. That's what Gibson thought. He thought that because Cambria did it like that, then we should do it like that. We don't have to. We can have different format, but we will need definitely some of the LOCAC members to be on because we will need help, especially with the part of the questions and comments. What the Cambria did, they collected, and that was in person, so it was easier. People wrote down their questions and comments, and they handed it to one of the NCAC members, and they kind of put it together and address the panelists so that not everybody will have to repeat the same question or similar. So we need to think about it. Maybe we need a little bit more time to plan it. How we will need somehow to be able to have help in that sense. So we are missing the other two members today of the meeting, Sandra and Jim. I don't know where Jim is. Sandra, I know, is away. So we will have to discuss it.
Why don't you discuss it with the other members? And let's see how the December 10th meeting for LOCAC lines up. If there isn't a lot of things on the book, you know, maybe you can pull it together by then. Or if you see that it's going to take time to pull the forum together, then let's set it up for a first of the year meeting when people aren't all pressured by the holidays and all of that.
Yeah, that seems to be kind of what might have to happen. I don't want to squeeze it. If we don't let people know now, if we ask panelists to be on, they have to put it on their calendar. If we don't have it now, we cannot wait until a week before a forum. So we might just have to do it in January. But again,
yeah,
what I'm asking LOCAC to decide is whether or not we can dedicate a meeting. And it seems like difficult because of land use. Sounds like difficult. So we might have to have another day for the forum. It's just going to be another meeting date.
Well, would it work
okay
if we went ahead and had the regular LOCAC meeting on Thursday, December 10th? At that time, we pick a date, a separate date from the January meeting, because I really think this needs to be two separate meetings.
Okay, I hear you. I mean, that's not what Cambria did, but that does not mean that Cambria is doing if it's not right for us, it's not right for us.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what their policies and procedures and bylaws are, so I don't know what they can do, but I just think we have projects that come in from the county, and if we dedicate a whole meeting just to that, then we don't do our project.
That is correct. That is correct.
I would like to be able to really focus on your meeting. I think it's very important. And I would like to, as soon as possible, with LOCAC members, when can we do that second meeting? If we have to wait until December to decide it's going to be in January, then maybe that's how we have to do it.
This is Jan. The one thing that I'd really like to understand and hear at our December meeting, so we're talking December 10th, is to understand succinctly what the is it an educational purpose? Is it a resource purpose? Is it a just let's foam at the mouth purpose? So I'd like to really understand what the forum outcome is, and from there what the next steps might be. So
okay.
as you meet with your group, I'd really like to start hearing some of that stuff, because I think that's pretty important for the community to hear and understand on whether or not they even want to participate.
Right. So we put the mission of the subcommittee on the website, and I'm going to read it to you just so that you kind of hear it first, the fresh. The Unhoused Residents Forum Subcommittee will coordinate with county agencies, nonprofits, and community organizations working on this issue to host an educational and informative forum for the community. The purpose of the forum is to share information about homelessness, update the community on what measures are currently being taken, and to consider further steps. And so that's the end of it. So I was very glad that Gibson said that, and I know that the county is actually working on next steps. And I think that the educational, informative part of the forum is very important, but the next step, personally, to me, is more important. Of course, I'm not the only person on the committee, and we have to coordinate with the rest, but that is what the forum should be covering, the purpose of the forum is to share information about homelessness, update the community on what measures are currently being taken, and to consider further steps. And those further steps are very, very important, in my opinion.
Excellent. That's very succinct. Thank you, Yao.
You're very welcome.
And we have a hand up with Lindy. And Lindy, I'm unmuting you.
Lindy, we can't hear you. You need to unmute yourself.
I unmuted myself.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So if December 10th can have an agenda item, which would be a brief update of what the subcommittee has accomplished and where we're at, and sort of a way to, whoever is paying attention, to understand that there will be either a special meeting or a dedicated LOCAC meeting in the near future in January. Because that's, I mean, that way we can begin to unravel what's accomplished during November, end of this month. I mean, next month,
Couple of months. Next week. Yeah. So what I would like again to reiterate that why the date for the forum is important is because we are going to talk about list of panelists in our next meeting. So you can talk about the list of panelists, but you also have to find out whether they're available and to invite them. And if we don't have a date, we cannot invite them. So that's why if we just want to decide on a date in January, that's fine, but we need a date because we need to contact people and we need to invite them. So that's basically, yeah.
Yael, could you are having a meeting, which I'm assuming you will give me so I can put it on the website. How about if you guys in your committee decide on the date and then give us an email, all of us on LOCAC an email, and then we could get back to you and say, yeah, that date would be good or whatever.
Okay.
And maybe we could do it that way. Just do it via email to get that date.
Right, but we do not want it to be we do not want it to replace LOCAC meeting. That's what I already understand.
Yeah, but I mean, I know you want the date out there and to tell your people this is the date you need to be there.
Yes.
If you work,
and Gibson has to be there too. And Gibson, number one, has to be there.
You need to coordinate with a bunch of people and then submit a few dates. You know, I mean, we're less important getting the information out to the community, even if every LOCAC member isn't there. It's important to get the community out there and with a date so they know, and Sandra can do her email blast and, you know, get it out there.
Correct. I think Sue wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just would like to support what Lynette said. I think you guys should decide on a date and set it. And I think her idea is good to let us know so that those on CSD or chamber or whatever might know of other meetings that might coincide.
Yeah.
So I think
right.
But yeah, get a date, and that way, as soon as you do it, as soon as you can, so you can hire your panel.
Yes, we will do it. It's just that the members of LOCAC, the three of us, really were hoping to do it still in this year. But that's not the whole committee. It just was us talking before the committee was formed. So I hear two things, but the main thing is that LOCAC rather have it separate from LOCAC meeting. I hear that. So whenever we decide on a date, it cannot be coincide with LOCAC meeting. I heard that very loud and clear. Okay.
So are we in agreement that December 10th, Thursday, will be our next LOCAC combined meeting of the 2 months? Is that, I mean, it's on the agenda. Let's do it.
Right. Yes, I think it's fine. With me.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, to me too.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Yep. Lynette, that's the majority. Let's go for it.
Yeah, I think that we are. So
Okay.
all we have left on the agenda is public comment on items not on the agenda. That's all. We're almost done. Wow, long meeting.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good Thanksgiving. See you all just before Christmas, I guess.
Well, first have good Halloween. I mean, we are not even in
Yes,
Halloween
yes.
or Thanksgiving.
Did anybody raise their hand that they?
Oh, wait, we just have someone who just rose their hand. So I'm
Yeah.
going to ask Jeff to unmute.
And could we get a last name on Jeff?
It's Jeff Krebs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
DJ.
Yeah, thanks. This is just a real quick one, and I appreciate Carrie giving us the update on the community plan and the time frame that it's going to go to the Board of Supervisors. I guess I just want to, I've spent a lot of time on the circulation aspect, and both Carrie and Mike in Public Works have taken a lot of the points to heart and have tried to correct some stuff and make things a little bit clearer. I guess the biggest gap that I've now come to learn, which is out of scope of the community plan, is to evaluate road safety from the pedestrian standpoint or the bicyclist standpoint. And that's kind of why I wanted to go back with Mike and make sure I understood that the comprehensive circulation study wasn't going to be a larger deal. But there are other communities that are doing some alternative transportation planning and analysis, with Los Osos being a community of, and I don't know what the percentage is, but 80 or 90% of them are shared space, cars, pedestrians and bikes. Back in 2015 and beyond, we've all communicated saying it's important to have safe walking places, streets, and that type of thing. Now we're looking to do a growth program up in the Morro Shores area is the biggest concentration. I live down in El Morro area, so I see a bunch of the stuff going to Baywood, and it affects me. So that's been a big concern. But I guess I would just ask you to, if you're comfortable with another 20% of cars going along without having evaluated pedestrians and bicycles, I guess we deserve what we get. But in my mind, I had asked that an alternative transportation plan or an analysis be done so that the supervisors can really understand where the gaps are or the risk points are. And those can get either mitigated or something happen to them before we start putting more cars in here. And the Planning Commission did listen to it. They took a lot of my comments. I don't think they thought that needed to be done before growth could go forward. But it was a little confusing exactly what comments they were going to actually have incorporated into the forward plan or not. So I'm just alerting you to pedestrian safety on shared space and bike safety is not it's out of scope of that community plan. And Parks and Rec, they look at trails. When you start talking about pedestrian, they're really looking at, they're not looking at roadways in the suburban areas where a lot of us are trying to figure out how we can walk safely and stuff like that to different areas. So that's my point. I've spent probably enough time on it, but I just wanted to alert you.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, any more public input on things that aren't on the agenda? How about we make a move to adjourn? I think we've all had a nice evening.
Thank you.
Want to
Good
thank
meeting.
everybody. Chris, you did a great job manning the Zoom stuff.
Yeah.
Drink now.
You're hired for the forum.
Yeah, I think we're getting better at this. We might want to chip in and give Jan at traffic a little hand with the Zoom.
Oh, yeah. We can help Jan, no problem.
Yeah, And Yael, if you need some help on the, for your meetings, you know,
Yeah. Well,
but,
You have in-house IT.
yeah. Yeah, I have Paul here, so he's my
okay,
in-house IT. But last time in Trees and Landscape, I couldn't get the video to work.
oh, good,
Yeah.
good.
Can I
Anyway,
ask
I
a
want
quick question? I'm sorry to interrupt. Jeff Krebs, are you still here? Could you, is that Jeff? Could you
I will unmute Jeff right now. Jeff, you're unmuted.
Jeff, hi, this is Sue. Is there any chance I could have an email address for you, or can you contact me if you don't want to give it out? I have an email on the website. You could contact me and so that I could contact you. I have a question for you.
All right, I'll do that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, I didn't mean to bother you guys. I didn't want him to leave before.
Okay. Carrie, thanks very much for showing up, or again, as always.
Yes, thank you, Carrie.
Yeah.
I don't think she's.
Yeah, she's here.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Great, you
Bye.
too.
Thanks,
You
guys.
too. All right.
Okay,
Bye.
that's it.
No more hands up. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.